This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to John Con Report wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's A-M-P-I-R-E. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And I'm sure you guys are anxious to relive another loss in another bad season. Nicki, I think, and you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, you see Nicki Jhabvala from the Washington Post here. Now you know if you're not watching. I don't know if that's the sound of crickets out in the audience right now, but my God, that was rough. Yeah, that was rough. So I guess we start with this one. They're 4-7 now. We're at the inevitable point, aren't we?
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely feels like that. I mean, they go to Dallas on a short week after that, then they come home, host Miami, they get their long-awaited bye. But I mean, this is brutal. This is definitely not what I expected coming into the season. I know like July is always the happiest time of the year for every team in the NFL, but I thought there was some real palpable optimism coming into this season. It has not panned out at all.
I mean, you had the defense played well last year.
Right.
They added a first-round pick and a second-round pick. Yeah. And then they had a young quarterback they could feel they could build, or they that may be able to at least help them. And you had all the positive vibes from the ownership.
Yep.
Though that feels like a year ago now.
Light years ago. Yeah. I mean, the secondary has been the most baffling to me because I thought they were a decent group last year. If they could, get some more turnovers, eliminate some of the explosives, I think they had a real shot. And the moves they made in the offseason, I questioned some of them, but I thought on paper they made that group deeper, added more talent. They were young. You would think if they played well, you could keep them together for a while. It's been a disaster. And it's not one person, it's the group as a whole. And it's been persistent mistakes week after week. This is not all on them. The other groups have contributed as well. But that one especially has been a little baffling. I thought they'd be much better than they have.
Well, and part of it too is like they went to that. I'm going to get into some bigger picture stuff in a minute. So I don't want to dig too deep into that because there's some much bigger topics to get to right away that people want to know about, job security, all that stuff. But as far as that part goes too, because we were talking to Benjamin St. Just afterwards, we're asking about more blown coverages because they've had multiple times of that this year, which last year we thought ended with the benching of William Jackson. Yeah. So like the zone match, and that's a heavy communicative defense, right? Coverage system, right? And he was even saying, it'd probably be easier if we just stayed on our guy the whole time. But in this defense, you're exchanging, you're talking, you're on that. And he's like, it sounds like a shot at the system because he's like, we played, and it is complex. So you wonder, like, at what point, and I don't know where this team goes with that, because like, listen, man, it ain't changing. So I don't know, but like that to me is a surprise because last year they did it well and now this year they're not.
Yeah, right. So. And it just felt like communication has not been there. I mean, clearly guys are not on the same page. Otherwise these wouldn't be happening, but
I'm not sure they're in the same book sometimes.
Right, exactly. It was interesting. I mean, we asked some of the Giants players, what did they see from the secondary? And Isaiah Hodgins said, actually they were in man quite a bit and we could run a lot of meshes and pick plays and kind of throw them off. And we've heard the personnel and coaching staff in Washington talk a lot about how they love the length of their corners, which every team does. You love that. It's just more ways to kind of knock the ball away. But the Giants said they tried to turn it into a liability and rely more on quick game, which is harder to adjust when you're a bigger body. So it's interesting to see how they found new ways to attack this defense after beating them the first time in a different manner.
And it was, and even with that, like part of what they talk about, the quickness with some of these guys with the length, like that's supposed to be a strength for St. Jude's, but to me, it's like, it's like on a couple of the long ones where it's like somebody clearly screws up. And then that's one where I think there's like, it could be man, but even in the situation where you motion to a certain formation. And again, I go back to why isn't that working? And we're digging a little bit deep on the minutia on that, because they're bigger picture topics here, but that is part of the problem here. And does that go back to, did you not have the personnel to play this? Are you not getting, are you confusing personnel out there at times? Like that to me goes back to coaching.
Right. Is it poor personnel evaluation? Is it having the wrong players in this scheme? Is it not tailoring your scheme to the players, which kind of go hand in hand? Are you not developing players? I would say it's probably a little bit of all of it. They are missing players. I think not having Derek Forrest hurts a lot, but they were making mistakes with Derek Forrest too. So I think it's kind of all of the above. It's not one side that warrants all the blame. It's every side, coaches, players, the personnel department. It's kind of a mess right now, and it's gonna make for a long offseason to-do list for the new ownership.
You did not put yourself on there, and I kind of give you some of the blame too.
You know what? I'm innocent here. I'm an angel.
But so the coaches are the big thing, because that's what everybody wants to know. And I will say, like after the game in Ron Rivera's press conference, I thought last week looked like a gut punch for him and everybody else. Today was I think a harsh reality for where this is going for him.
It felt like it was trending this way throughout the season. I just always kind of held out, what if they made a late season push? But
because they have done that.
They have done that. It's kind of been the same trend for much of his 4 years here. But this one is just, it's hard to overcome. The question now is, do you make an in-season change, or do you ride it out and completely redo everything? I would not be surprised for some wholesale changes. Definitely in the off season. We'll see what they decide in season, but
yeah. And I think we all know where that's going at this point. It's 4-7. You can't sell progress as a program. Like you can say, like, if you want to say, hey, you got the quarterback to develop. Okay. But you can't sell progress in the program when you're 4-7 in this point, and you've lost to the Giants twice and Chicago at home. Like you're 1-4 at home. All you hear is like, oh, we need the fans to come out here.
Right. The fans came back.
They're coming.
You got to deliver, know? Yeah. And to me, that's what the new ownership has to weigh is the fans have come back. The fans have said, okay, fine, we'll give you a chance. Deliver. And they have not. So at some point, making a change at this point is not going to salvage the season necessarily. It's not going to create a fix that they need for many reasons, but one of them being that's not the way the staff is built. Unfortunately, there's not all right, maybe the sky will be better. There's no clearance.
There's no Antonio Pierce.
Right. A change in itself could spark improvement, but there's no guarantee with any of that. But at some point, do you reach that point where you need a change just out of respect to the fans? It's like, you don't want to do anything just to appease outsiders, but the fans came back. Like, they're not delivering. It's not working the way it's going. Do we need a change just to, acknowledge what's going on?
And, I think we've all along, it's been, you want to give them the year. You want to give them the year.
Right.
And I understand that completely, because you want to judge them on your merits, not like, okay, well, this guy worked for a crazy owner the last few years and in crazy situation. I get it. But I think the hard part is, again, going back to your point, is who then takes over. Well, you're not putting Jack Del Rio in charge, because that defense has been abysmal.
Right.
And then the only guy in offense would be Eric Bieniemy. And I think there's a reluctance there too. And part of it is, and see what you like, not just what you hear, but part of it is like, the guy, if they want to truly see what Sam Howell can do, keep the offensive staff. Really, that's what the season becomes. Forget the fans are going to get their wish at this point. You're going to get your wish at the end of the season. So then it becomes like, what do you really want to see?
Right.
Sam Howell get better. So what's the best way?
Seeing the whole team, that takes them away some from Sam Howell. And like
a lot from.
This is where I agree with Ron Rivera. The priority should be the quarterback at this point. Their chances of making the playoffs are slim to none at this point. Not totally out of it, slim to none. They could win out.
It's not looking good.
It's not looking great. So, I mean, you got to make the most of what you have. And to me, this is really where you really need to take stock of your inventory, see what you really have in these guys. I mean, get more time for the young players that they may not have much option, especially on defensive end at this point. But, this is.
I mean, you can see, are there any young linemen in this system who could help you down the road? Because right now you look at that line, you go, you need several new starters, period. And even with the Bieniemy part too, that, when you hear, I'm not sure that, I think if you want to see what he can do, the best thing to do is leave him in his spot. Let him grow and develop as a play caller so you get a feel there. And I think you're putting him in that spot now becomes you're not setting up for success. You're coming up with a brutal part of the schedule. So is it really going to, it's not going to show what you want to see if that's the guy you want.
Yeah. Yes and no. And I feel like with every argument, there's an obvious counter, right? Yes, that would take away from the offense and Sam Howell, but if they bring on an offensive minded coach anyway, they're not going to keep Bieniemy.
Correct.
So this could be his one opportunity to show what he has as an interim head coach. So there's this, but then there's this, a counter to every argument in every situation, whether it's firing somebody, not firing somebody, moving up EB, keeping him where he is, even in going to a less disruptive change of making Nate Katzer the interim head coach, because that would create the least amount of disruption to the offense and defense. There's always it's a hard thing to weigh for the ownership.
It is. And
that's what you take on when you buy this new.
It is. And I think the other part, he did say, again, we've all heard that they give the staff the year.
Right.
And if you want to stick to that, and I know, how does it, if you go and do it now, what's the perception outside here? Now,
that's a big thing.
I think it is a big thing.
Yeah. If you make that move now, is the next guy who's coming in going to think, oh man, if I don't perform well in 10 games, should I be looking over my back? Ownership is very aware of that. And they don't want that to be the perception. They're going to give you time. They're not going to let it drag out, but they want to make it clear that they're just not going to meddle and be all over them if something happens, because this could take time. I mean, it has taken time. It's taken longer than anybody expected, but it's starting anew again.
And I don't know, I don't mean to be downplay how bad it's been and how, for fans, how badly they want something better. And I think, listen, everybody wants better. Terry McLaurin, we're talking afterwards, they all want better. These are those are the ones, this is when you see Ron Rivera after the game like that, this is not an easy thing for him. This is you get a ton of money. I get that, but nobody wants this. Everybody wants to do something right. So, you don't want to be flippant or dismiss all that. But my other part is, again, at the end of the year, the way it's going, you're going to get your wish. So what's going to be accomplished now by doing it? It's a short-term pain. And so is there a long-term, I don't want to say gain by it but again, I do think it goes back to, I remember early in the year talking to some people who represent coaches, and they're they would take it not in a positive way. However, they're also going to judge it on their own merits too. And you can also make the case, Josh Harris could say, listen, I brought you on board. I inherited. Right. So that's always it. But I do think there's, like you said, there's a pro and a con. It does, I still think we're not there, but who knows? Who knows?
You didn't want a bye week, Johnny.
Who knows? Right. Who knows? Who knows where it's going to go? And that's the problem, is that if something happens, I'm not going to sit here and say, I don't know. We don't know. And so you want to be respectful when talking about this, because it is people's livelihoods, and you don't want to, you can't run out there and act a certain way in our roles. And so I don't even, it's hard to sometimes fully talk about it. However, it's the thing that's out there.
Right. It's a fair question at this point. It's been a fair question for a while, but even more so right now. It's because I feel like they're kind of at a crossroads. I mean, and we knew that coming into this game. You lose to a team like this, then, all bets are off.
The holidays are coming. Find a gift for someone special with jewelry from Blue Nile. Right now, Blue Nile is offering special Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. Save up to 50% on the season's most stunning trends. Blue Nile offers an endless selection of bold gold styles, gemstone jewelry, and classic diamond pieces. And now, for a limited time, get 36 months special financing on minimum purchases of $1,000. Restrictions apply. See BlueNile.com for details. That's BlueNile.com.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Harper hits one in the air, left back, it goes! Harper, the swing of his life!
MLB playoffs are near, and you know what that means, Alex?
Yep, Flippin' Bats will be staying up late and having all the fun.
From breaking down the most important stories in games, nobody's done what he's doing. Nobody, not even Babe Ruth.
To interviewing baseball's biggest stars.
I felt like I was pitching more stress. I was trying to be so perfect.
No one covers America's pastime like us.
So as we sprint towards this year's World Series on Fox, please make sure to listen, follow, and subscribe to Flippin' Bats with Ben Verlander and me, Alex Curry.
Baseball is fun, and so are we. We're gonna have fun, dang it! We'll talk to you soon.
The Adventure Park at Sandy Springs holiday sale is here. Save 30% or more on climbing and zip lining gift certificates, season passes, axe throwing packages, and more. Our families have enough stuff. This year, give the gift of experience and adventure. With 8 different levels, 16 courses, 250 climbing obstacles, and over 4,000 feet of zip lines, there is something for everyone. Visited already this year? The courses evolve with the trees around them, so each experience has something new to offer. Named Best Amusement Park in the DMV 2 years in a row, this is an opportunity you won't want to miss. This is their biggest sale of the year, and purchases never expire. While the sale runs until Christmas Day, the earlier you buy, the bigger the savings. The perfect gift for families, coworkers, and friends alike is waiting for you at www.theadventurepark.com/kind. That's www.theadventurepark.com/kind. And that's KEIM. I still, I'd say, I don't know how you do this, but we've seen this team enough to know, like, well, I know how it does it. When you turn the ball over 5 times or whatever it is, you don't win. You don't win. I mean, and even when you get 9 sacks, you can't beat, even if it's Tommy DeVito on the other side.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe, like, okay, you lose to Chicago.
Yeah.
That felt like one of the worst losses I've seen here.
Yeah.
How do you compare this one to that one?
I would say this is the worst loss in Ron Rivera's tenure here.
And why do you say this one is worse than that?
Because I think because of what's at stake. I mean, this is a 2-8 team with a 3rd-string quarterback that nobody had heard of really 3 weeks ago. And suddenly he looks like Brock Purdy out here because of the way the defense is playing. They beat themselves, the Commanders, but also what's at stake? There's a new owner. You're 4-6 coming in.
It's at home.
It's at home in front of a packed crowd. You have to win this game. You have to win this game, and it should not have been a struggle to win this game. Instead, they get blown out.
But it's funny because once they had that first turnover, like, you knew right then, it's like, now it's going to be a struggle because now you leads to points. Now you're behind again. And that's like every single time they play this team. Get out okay, early turnover, fall behind, can't recover. Yeah. It's wash, rinse, repeat.
Even this time, they didn't even put on a decent showing in the second half to try to climb back. Like, it was bad.
So we've gotten the coach up. Sam Howell's the other one. Yeah. So we know the numbers. Few picks.
Game. I'm not going to go so far as to say it was a setback because I don't think it can be that granular. I don't think he can take a step forward in one game. I think it's a longer trend that you're looking for. I mean, this is his 12th NFL game. I mean, I still think, like, we asked Joe Theismann before the game, how long do you think you need to see what a quarterback has and his full potential? And even he said a full season. Like, we haven't even gotten that from Sam Howell. So I still think there's a lot of promising stuff there. He didn't have a good game, but he also didn't fumble the ball 3 times, and he didn't allow all those big completions in coverage too. So it was myriad factors that led to this one. I don't want to excuse sort of the things that he did. Like, if you're going to throw the ball away, that's the second time he's been picked off trying to do that. Like, come on. But I'm not going to go so far as to say it was a setback, just because I don't think it would be a step forward in one game. I don't think you can kind of do that in this league.
And I think you're right. Like, there's never like this linear path. It's always what do you take from this game and how do you change it? What do you build on and go from there? And clearly, like, he does well against the Eagles. He doesn't do as well against the Giants, style of defense. And even like some of the plays that we saw against New England or even Seattle, some of those big time plays, the improv plays, they didn't work out today because one, he just throws up for grabs, a Hail Mary. And then the other one, like you say, he's trying to throw it away. And it looks like it's almost a perfect pass to Logan.
It just looked like it was lofted there. It was like slow motion, and watching it, in real time, I'm just like, dude, put some behind.
And I think that's the hard part is in some of those situations, I don't know that he could. And that was the hard part. And even like the first one, looks like you got to lead Diami a little bit more. I don't know why Logan Thomas was in that area too.
That didn't,
somebody messed up.
Remiss for not following up on that one. I just had bigger questions.
There were bigger things.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at how, like, sometimes the difference is, where are you leading him with the ball? It is, and I don't know that necessarily was the issue there. Typically, you're going to throw it to the open area and let him run over. So it's just like, that's the difference between sometimes a great play and a not so great play. But I agree with you. Like, I don't sit there and judge and say, oh my gosh, did he take a step back? You can't, because it's all, you take it all and you put it at the end of the year and say, where is he at? Right. And my God, Nicki, they've got, now you got a pass rush Thursday, Micah Parsons, then you get the Dolphins, then you get, I guess you get Aaron Donald, the Rams, but I mean, there's some tough defenses coming up for him. So we're going to get a really good measure. But the problem is, I don't even want to say that, because like sometimes there's one play where Chris Paul just gets drilled through by Dexter Lawrence. Yeah. And then Sam Howell's got to run for his life, and you're running around defenders. Right. I don't, it's hard to fully measure in that case.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's so many variables at stake here, and there's so many bad plays from multiple contributors. I mean, like, how many games has Charles Leno had a false start? But it's just a lot. I'm more worried about the defense though. Like, I don't mean to give Sam Howell a pass on this, but I just think their defense, I mean, it's not inexplicable, but it's, they can't keep making these plays. And I'm not sure that they fully grasp what's going on. Some of the younger players, like, it's bad. You can't let up these explosive plays and expect to win. Right. The turnovers are one thing. I feel like a 6 turnover game is a rare occasion, but these explosives have been an issue since year one. It's you got to clean these up at a certain point.
And I'll say 5, because when they're in the game, like the last one that ends the game, right, they turned it over 5 times and still had the ball with the chance to win, which tells you how bad the Giants are.
Yeah, they had like net 6 rushing yards until like near the end of the second quarter. I mean, it's insane. I mean, they had half of the first downs that Washington had. They were getting outgained, and we're still winning. It's crazy. But
it's like, but you fumble, all those fumbles just kill them. The second half fumble, just like it's never ending with this team, but they find every week new ways to lose. And it's why when you're 4-7, it's not hard to, sometimes it's hard. It's like, how did they get here? Well, now it's easy to see how they got here, because they're not a good team, period. And that's, I think maybe to me, that's the most disappointing thing for this season is that, I thought it was like an 8 or 9 win team, right, and so I guess they could still get there, but I mean, but I didn't think I didn't think they'd lose to Chicago, New York, and the New York twice.
I mean, they play well against teams they should get, I guess, technically defeated. Like, they could easily get blown out too. And then they just come unraveled against these teams that they should handedly defeat, in my mind,
which means it would be a classic Washington thing to go and win on Thanksgiving, People will say,
pulled around against Miami.
yeah, and hey, where was this against these bad teams?
Yeah.
But not sitting there planning on that, Nikki. So I don't know where else to go with this one, because the big thing is coaching. And then again, if nothing's happening there, and then, so I think for people who want that, you're just going to have to say, listen, at the end of the year, we're certainly trending there. And so you'll get, but again, right now, who knows? And
wait and see.
It's a wait and see. And the fun thing is there's 6 games left. So how about that? That's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun December to remember. Yes.
Frequently visiting Starbucks over these next 6 weeks to get through.
There we go. Anyways, Nikki, thanks a lot as always for coming on. Thanks to you for joining me. I'll be back, I guess, on Tuesday with the film review of this great game. How about that? And then Tuesday night with Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, 7:30 live stream Eastern time. We're now in a therapy Tuesday, but I think it's going to be like a therapy season. So anyways, thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time.